Hi everybody, welcome again to another program of Yeshiva Classroom, and we're here every week at this time, or you can catch us on YouTube, right? Go to YouTube and click on Yeshiva Classroom, and right away we're going to speak about Torah, and we know that this is being recorded on the 18th of March 2018, right? And it's 2 weeks before Pesach, which is on the 30th of March, on a Friday evening. That is when we have our first Seder for the holiday of Pesach, and we know how important Pesach is to us. A little bit about and the Jewish people, and that is that the Jewish people are chosen and loved by God. And where do we see it? In the very beginning of the the 5 books of Moses, there is a second pasuk and says a second sentence says that God hovered over the face of the waters. God hovered over the face of the waters. Again, the first sentence, and you should get a pen and jot these down. Genesis, Bereshit, Genesis, first book of the Bible, right? First book of the Bible, 20 chapter. And over there it says that in a beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. And the second sentence says that God, the Ruach Elokim, or God, hovered over the face of the waters. Now, what does that have to do with anything in the middle, in drinnen, in the middle of anything? We want to know why that sentence is put down there, because after all, we know that the Torah was given to the Jewish people. The entire 5 books of the Bible, the Torah, was given to the Jewish people in where? In Deuteronomy chapter 31, verse 24. Chapter 31, verse 24. And over there it says God dictated the Torah, the Bible, the Jewish Bible, to Moses. That's a very important sentence, and you should write that down. Deuteronomy, right? The Deuteronomy chapter 31, verse 24, and God dictated the Torah to Moses, and Moses put that original copy in the portable temple that was constructed, because God said in 28:5 in Exodus, He says, "Make for me a portable temple, make for me a mishkan that I may dwell within it." And 29:46 in Exodus, "Make me a portable temple so that my presence shall be with them." That's Exodus 28:5 and Exodus 29:46. And here we see the Torah. And what's so significant about that? Many things, in that it was given to the Jewish people. It was given to the Jewish people only, right? And in there is a very important key phrase amongst all the other words that teaches us how we should conduct our life. Because over there in write it down, Deuteronomy chapter 30, verse 19, it says over there, "I put before you life and death. Choose life that you might live." I put before you life and death. Choose life that you may live. And that's the essence of it. We, the Jewish people, were given that charge to choose virtuously by using our free will, right? Every man has free will, because when God blew into the nostrils of man, into the nostrils of Adam, He created man's soul, S-O-U-L. And with that, he created the ability to choose between right and wrong. He chose to be able to choose. Free will. He was given free will. Similar to a very godlike quality. A very godlike quality. He was able to choose between right and wrong. Everyone has that ability. And man was given that ability, and the Jewish man in the Torah, in chapter 30, verse 19, was told that if he chose correctly throughout his interactions and during his lifetime, he will earn holiness points, and that at the end of his demise, after 120 years, he will be able to accumulate all those points and turn them in for a mark. And once he gets a passing mark, it will determine his seat, so to speak, and his closeness to God, which is all important, which we all strive for. And this is very important, that this world is a preparatory place to earn the marks necessary to live in the next world, in the soul world, S-O-U-L. And that's what we strive for. And we see that God has given us all kinds of leaders with great intelligence. I mean, you look in every field in throughout the litany of accomplishments, whether it's science, Einstein, whether it's mathematicians, whether it's inventors, whether it's music, whether it's art, whether social work, any field of endeavor, sports. What Gabe Kapler is the manager of the Phillies. That's my team that we're looking for, right? Gabe Kapler, he's a Jew. But the point is that we were given these qualities of intelligence. And unfortunately, many of these intelligent Jewish people have not chosen and have not emphasized the significance of what they're to do with this intelligence, and how they are to lead the world and through the Jewish people as their surrogate, to lead them in the correct path, right? So, it says in the Torah, Esau, who is the progenitor of the Gentile nations, and Yaakov, who is the progenitor of the Jewish nation, who are brothers, says to the effect that Esau makes and Yaakov wears. In other words, his emphasis is not on accumulating wealth and greatness in the financial or materialistic world, but his intelligence is to be used to study the beauty of Torah and to pass it on to his co-religionists, fellow Jews, so that they will be a light unto the nation. They will be a light unto the nation. And unfortunately, we see that even though they are leaders in their respective fields, the emphasis is not on investigating and studying how to make people who do not have that aptitude for spirituality. I'm talking about Jewish people who do not have that aptitude for spirituality to gain it and by teaching these people which don't have that strength for spirituality. Because over there, it says over there in 29 Deuteronomy, write it down, Deuteronomy 29:13, that God will take care of the hidden transgressions, but it is for man to take care of the overt transgressions that Jews may commit. And we have to teach and to emphasize the beauty of learning Torah. I mean, throughout the Torah, it says in many places, let me give you for example, in Deuteronomy, write these down, Deuteronomy 4, chapter 4, verse 1, Deuteronomy chapter 5, verse 1, Deuteronomy chapter 6, verse 1, and Deuteronomy chapter 7, verse 11, and Deuteronomy 8, verse 2. Over there it talks about imploring the Jewish people that Moses, through God, is telling them to observe the commandments and the beautiful mitzvahs that I have given them, so that it will be good for them. And that's the whole secret, where we're not falling, that we're not rising to that challenge. And we see, for instance, how many people, Jews, have received the Jewish education. And here we see over there in Deuteronomy chapter 11:13, if you do all these commandments, 4:1, 5:1, 6:1, 7:11, and it says in 7:13, and he will love you and bless you and multiply you. He will also bless the fruit of your body and the fruit of your land, the corn and the wine and the oil and the increase of thy kind, and the young of the flock and of the land which he swore to thy fathers to give you. Thou shalt be blessed above all peoples. Thou shalt not be a male or female barren. It goes on and on and on of all the rewards man will get in this world. And unfortunately, we're not doing it. And we want to say that this was all made, this covenant, this contract of doing the commandments was all made by the covenant that God made with Abraham. How does a shepherd make a covenant with his sheep? And that's the same thing. How does God make a covenant with man? But that's what happened. Because the second sentence, remember we said about the second sentence? The Ruach Elokim Meracheveth al Panei Hamayim. The Spirit of God hovered over the face of the waters. He didn't want to get his feet wet? No, it was looking for a people or an individual who would be able to teach these teachings, these God-giving precepts to come to the conclusion that there is a one God, not a man God, or not a God who came through some prophet, so-called, but a God that was seen by the people, that people that came out of Egypt, right? Right? And chapter 15 says, and excuse me, before that, Abraham was the one that was chosen. Many people were righteous and realized that there is one God, the creator of heaven and earth, by observation and realization, rationalization. This could only happen through a God that was almighty and all-powerful, that could put together all these systems that we have coming together at the proper time and doing its job in order for man to exist. And it's like a railroad train a toy train that I had at one time when I was small, and it was on a track, a Lionel, that went around the circle, and when I went to a certain spot, the little house opened up, and the watchman came out, waving his lantern, and then the train passed, he went back in. And that's how the train went throughout all these little charges that activated certain things on the train and on the outside of the train as the train passed. And that's how God created the world. Right? It said, Bereshis bara Elokim es hashamayim v'es haaretz. It said, then v'yichal Elokim b'yom hashvi kol malachto asher bara Elokim lasos. All that he created to do. He put the train, so to speak, in a continuous action mood, that it went around and around, and all these things in the environment happened because it was necessary for man to grow and live and flourish when these environmental actions came about. And, you know, for instance, in the springtime, we have a lot of rain and thunder, lightning, which unites the nitrates with the nitrogen and the oxygen in the air, and giving it fertilizer and giving it water in order for the plant to grow, in order for man to reap the benefits of the process of growth of the fruits and vegetables, which coincidentally was necessary for man to live, survive, and reproduce. This didn't nonchalantly happen. It didn't nonchalantly happen that, oh yeah, you know, the rain came at the right time, and the flowers bloomed and the fruits happened. You know, well, it's Mother Nature. Mother Nature is God. Mother Nature is God. When you see all these things, say, all that happened, it was Mother Nature. Look, I have a peanut over here. Now, a peanut grows in the ground. Right? A peanut grows under the ground, and it can get dirty if you if you harvest it. There may be some dirt attached to it. So you know what Mother Nature did, quote unquote God? He put a wrapper around each peanut. He put a wrapper, a tissue that was able to keep the peanut clean. He put a tissue around it, a little tissue paper, and that paper we could throw off, and we have the nut and no dirt intersposed with the edible fruit, which has so much healthful benefits in it, right? So much healthful benefits that we take for granted. You know, we go into the store, and we should try to stay away from sugars. A lot of the peanut and the peanut butters have sugar additives, and what else? Sugar additives and fillers, vegetable oil fillers. So you have to check your labels when you buy peanut and peanut butter. Right, so where were we? We were talking about the fact that that God made a covenant with Abraham, the progenitor of the Jewish people. Many other people rationalizing came to the conclusion that there was a creator, a God, one God, but they failed to teach their offspring and their children to carry on that tradition. It was only Abraham and his progenitors, who were the progenitors of Isaac and Jacob and his children, which came the 12 tribes. Now, he was chosen. He was chosen. Abraham was chosen, and God made a contract with him, and he made a covenant with him, and that's what happened. God is not fickle. In Numbers 23:19, this is for the Gentiles and the non-believers. That say 29, in Numbers 23 verse 19. God is not fickle, nor does he change his mind. Right? God is not fickle, nor does he change his mind. He's not going to throw away the Jewish people and say, well, you're no longer the chosen people, but I have a new people that are going to replace you. If he was going to do that, he would make an assembly and let everyone know that no longer are the Jewish people the chosen people that he picked, and no longer is the covenant in effect. Now, what happened in chapter 15? Look at chapter 15 in Genesis, and we'll see over there that that God made a covenant with Abraham, and it was darkened, and there were three animals: a goat, a calf, and another animal was split asunder. And between these parts, the covenant of the parts, a smoky furnace and a fiery torch passed, and there were birds of prey that came down, but they were chased away, indicating that the Jews would be stricken with birds of prey that would want to attack them throughout the ages, because the covenant said that you will be a nation where your children will go into exile for 400 years. Where your children, this is God speaking to Abraham in chapter 15, in Bereshit and Genesis, right? The holy book of the Bible, the Torah that was given to the Jewish people. It wasn't given to the Gentiles, and that they should pick and choose and say, well, I like the Ten Commandments, I like this. The Ten Commandments says, I am the Lord, speaking to the Jewish people, I am the Lord your God who brought you out of the land of Egypt. I am the Lord your God who brought you out of the land of Egypt. It teaches us many things. Why did it have to add, I am the Lord your God? It's not talking about a God of the Gentiles, but it's talking about the God of the Jewish people. And that he physically takes charge in helping the Jewish people. Deuteronomy 31, chapter 33:26. Deuteronomy chapter 33:26, right? Over there it says, God rides the heavens to help you. God rides the heavens to help you. Chapter 33:26. And chapter 31:17 in Deuteronomy says that God hides his presence. God hides his presence. And all these things that happen to us, for instance, whatever you want to call it, the birth of a child, the formation of a child, it's between the male and the female, it becomes a zygote, and that's the reason, and that's how it was born. That's the cause. It's to satisfy a man and give him a reason for an event that produces another event, cause and effect. So a man is led away to understand that's how it happened. I see it through the microscope. But with all the microscopes and all the introspections, it is God that is behind everything. God is behind Mother Nature. And the same thing. Yeah, so what happened in chapter 15? That we see that there's a covenant made. And the Jewish people would go into exile. The children of Abraham would go into exile. Why? Because they were going to be given the land of Israel, known then as Canaan, right? They were going to be given that land, and that's what God said. That's what God said. But they will be in exile for 400 years, and if you count from Abraham's son, who was 60 years of age, And then you add another 130 years when Jacob, Isaac's son, went to Egypt. That's 190, and 60 and 130, 190. And then you put into the slavery 210 years that they went into slavery, and you have 400 years that they went into exile. And that at that night, after 400 years, and if you want to count the time from the covenant between the parts, which was 30 years prior to that, you have 430 years, because it does mention the time 430 and 400 years. But at 400 years of exile, the Jews were told they can leave. And that prediction came true, because on that night of Passover, which in time we're looking at it is on Friday the 30th, the first night of Passover. At that time, the Jews were to go out, and sure enough, the last Makkah, the last plague, was the death of the firstborn. And I want to mention this because, you know, I saw this in the front page of the New York Times. Maybe it must have been about 10 years ago or so. On the front page, the bottom half of the page, and they uncovered a graveyard in Egypt, and all the deceased were firstborn. And I wanted to cut that out and clip it and read it, but whatever, I don't have it. I have to, maybe if I can Google it.